You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network. RonandDon.com.
We want three! We want three! We want three!
What is that? It's the Don Nation audience going crazy because...
It sounded like you screaming off mic.
Calm down, you guys.
We want three! We want three!
We want three. Oh, three of the Ron and Don Show. We heard your plea. Now you got three. Thanks to Les Schwab. Every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. This is episode number 38 if you're following along, boys and girls. And we really appreciate you taking the show and sharing it with the masses on your social media. How do you do that? How do you share the show?
Yeah, the best thing, because most people are listening on Apple. When you see the podcast, if you click on it, there's these three little dots or there's a box with an up arrow.
Yeah.
Find that thing, that little icon, hit it, and then you can copy the link or you can share it to a text message, you can share it to email, you can share it to your socials. That's what would help us the most, is sharing it with a friend that you know listened to Ron and Don before, and maybe they don't know right now. So the biggest help you could give us would be to share the episode. So find that box with the up arrow. If you're on Android, I can't help you. Why are you on Android?
Right.
I don't know how to share stuff on Android.
Yeah. Hey, you know what they're finding is that a lot of us, because our lives are carved up so much now. And instead of when you drop the kids off and just kind of taking a moment for yourself, or maybe just thinking in your car with the radio off, climb inside your head a little bit, think about your life and what's going on. A lot of times what we do is we're on our phones and we are just constantly taking in information. We're constantly on socials. We're constantly reading headlines and we're taking in things. And as we're doing this sometimes, we lose our way when it comes to us just being focused. Well, if you got $40, we might have an answer for you if you're having a hard time being focused sometimes.
This is interesting, and maybe someone should start a branch here in the Pacific Northwest. So I read this article in Wired Magazine. There's a new startup called Focused. And the article and the person that did the article is in Wired actually used them to write the article, so it's a little bit meta. Mm-hmm. But they did the in-person consultation, which I think is more than $40. But basically it's this. If you find yourself, as Don just described, constantly distracted, constantly procrastinating, unable to get the thing done, they paid a fee to go in and do a consultation to get a personal focus coach. And so this person that did it, Megan, she went into the office in the Bay Area and she said, I've been trying to write this article. I need to crank it out for Wired Magazine. Can't get it done. They paid her to do this, and she met with Nordia, and they had an initial consultation. And here's the interesting thing that she did. So first they said, how are we going to define success? So that's always a great question for anybody to ask. What does success look like? So if you're unfocused, it's like, for me, I'm moving at the end of the month. So success to me is like, if I can get 2 boxes done a day of like decluttering or getting stuff sorted to like, this is going to donate, this is going to the dump, this is going to be in a box. If I just do 2 a day, I feel good. The hard thing is it feels so overwhelming that it's easier to do 0 boxes a day and just look at the unfolded boxes. So for Megan, she's like, what success looks like to me is if you open up my document and you're seeing me put words into that document, even if it's not polished yet, that's what success looks like. So then she's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You pay me your $40. We go through that initial thing. At what point, she goes, I'm going to monitor you and encourage you and keep you focused for 2.5 hours. At what point can I come in and take away your cell phone? And for Megan, she was like, she's like, I don't know. So before they started, she's like, she goes, okay, at the halfway point, is it okay if I come in? She goes, I'm going to remove your phone. I'm going to keep it safe. It's going to be with me. If some emergency happens, I will come and notify you. I'm going to take away your phone for the last 90 minutes or the last 2 hours or whatever it was. And so Megan agreed to this. And so for the first half of the session, she opened up her document every 20 minutes. I don't know if they did a screen share thing or what. Nordia was able to encourage her and to see that she was staying focused. Then she came in, grabbed her cell phone, and left the room. And so Megan talks about the anxiety she felt first when the phone was gone, but then she pretty much finished the entire article. The first pass, she didn't have it edited and polished up yet. She finished the first pass of the whole article in the 2.5 hours. So it was successful for her. But the hardest part, she said, was allowing, is her name Nordia, to come in, take the cell phone away, and keep it in the lockbox for going on two hours.
That is tough. And when I've done that before, you have an issue when you put your cell phone away and then you're thinking about your cell phone while you're trying to focus on another project, whatever it is you're doing. And for me, for instance, a lot of times if I'm doing a trail run outside and I run at night a lot by myself or just with my dog, I have a headlamp on. And what I like to do is turn the music off and not be attached to that phone. But if I'm 6 miles in on a trail run, I'm out in the middle of the woods and it's 9 o'clock at night and I'm by myself. I was doing that for a while because I didn't want to take my phone and be interrupted by my phone. And it's like, man, if something happens, I go over a ravine and I need some help. I need to be able to call.
That's what your dog's for. It runs to the sheriff and goes, woof, woof.
Yeah, and I used to strap my phone to my arm when I would run. And now I just take it, I put it in a pocket, and then I turn off all the notifications so it's not going off or jingling.
Airplane mode.
Yeah, and then sometimes if you have your watch on, your watch starts ringing, and so you're trying to get away from technology, and yet you're surrounded by it. I do find when I disconnect, when I really take the time to disconnect, or if I'm with the people that I love and care about, like when I'm with my son, or I was with my mom here these past couple of weeks, or when we're just hanging out as a family, when I put those phones away or I take my watch off or put it in airplane mode, life is just better. You find that you truly can be present in those moments.
Well, the venue change is interesting too, because you and I were doing some business planning for Rondon Brokers for 2020, and we went to a WeWork space. Just going to a different venue that's not a coffee shop where there's 1,000 people around and everybody's got their laptop open. We had our own room. I found it much easier to focus when we were in kind of a unique environment that we don't go to every day. I don't know if you did as well, but we seemed to be very productive, and we seem to have this dedicated space. I found it to be helpful. So I think that in doing this thing, I've thought about getting a little box that locks that I can put my phone into and just close the lid on the box where I know where it is, but it's in the box.
What's funny about the phone is you're supposed to use the phone to phone someone, and we don't do that anymore. We have one of our great teachers. She's our mentor at Windermere. Her name is Tamara Marson. And Tamara's been in the business now over 30 years. And she said, you know what you can do for your clients that will really be authentic, if it's you, and it'll really make a difference, is don't text them all the time. And don't email them all the time. Pick up the phone and use the phone for what the phone is used for and call them.
Look at this guy using his phone as a phone.
Right. And it was interesting. I was with a friend the other day, and we were going up the interstate, and she was in the car next to me. And as she's in the car next to me, we're driving up the interstate, she is texting me and sending me text messages. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing in the world.
I'm right here.
Why aren't we? I'm in the car. Why aren't we on our phones having a conversation? And yet she's over the carpool lane, kind of doing her thing. And then I saw her swerve a little bit because she's probably on her phone and she's texting me.
Oh, you guys are in two different cars.
We're in two different cars.
I thought you were in the same car.
No, and I told her later on, I'm like, why don't we just pick up the phone and have a conversation and use a phone as a phone? And I have noticed in my life, when you pick up the phone and you have a conversation, even if it's one of your kiddos, if it's your mom, whatever it is, there's magical things that happen with human-to-human connection when you're having conversation that doesn't happen in text messages. And Tamara's right. Have you noticed that when you
when you call somebody,
when you call someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, someone you work with, a coworker, whether it's a real estate deal that we're putting together, because people aren't used to phone calls, they really appreciate it. Do you even check your voicemail anymore? I check my voice.
Do.
You do?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll check my voicemail a week later and like, whew,
I have 17 voicemails.
missed that one.
So the startup is called Focused.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an app yet or not, but if you really are struggling that much, you can pay me $40 to remind you to get your butt moving.
Why not? All right. Hey, coming up on the Ron and Don Show, if you're ready to go on your real estate journey, you got a real estate story.
Well, we got a couple real estate stories, one involving Elon Musk and one involving what's going on here locally in the housing market. So we're going to do that and talk a little Ron and Don sit down.
We want three! We want three!
Hey, they heard your plea. Now you got three episodes of the Ron and Don Show brought to you by Les Schwab. Every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. This is the Friday show, you guys.
We want three! We want three!
Boy, that is a noisy studio audience.
The studio audience sounds remarkably like you, yelling off mic.
You're listening
Ron and Don Show.
to the Ron and Don Show. And yes, my dad's pretty annoying.
Hey, Ron and Don here for Les Schwab. Don, the other day I was driving out by Gold Bar. I hit a little patch and my wheels just started spinning. I'm like, what? This is not like 6 inches of snow. What is going on? I know that you changed out your tires recently. You're getting much more traction with the Les Schwab tires. I'm thinking maybe I should just drive into my Les Schwab and say, tell me about these, because I was spinning out like I'm on 6 inches of ice.
Yeah, they have their own custom tire line right now, and you stop by in, just say, hey, I heard Ron and Don talk about this on the podcast. You guys have your own tires now. And the thing that I love about their tires, if you don't love them, you can just return them, and you can drive on these tires for weeks. And just say, hey, I don't like these tires, bring them back, and they will make sure that they put some tires on that you love. I don't think you're going to return them, though. I haven't returned mine. Stop by Les Schwab Tire Center. How do you find one? LesSchwab.com. That's LesSchwab.com. And don't forget to ask for the Les Schwab Best Tire Value Promise. It just means for the life of the tire, everything is free. All right? LesSchwab.com. Let's say it together. Doing the right thing. It matters this holiday season. It looks like the studio audience has left. They've left for lunch.
Yeah.
So it's just you and I now. It's kind of weird having a huge audience. Yeah, like 3,000 people in your basement.
Yes, that was very crowded in
Thanks
here.
for everyone coming by. I appreciate that. And someone did clog the toilet, but that's the way it goes with the Ron and Don Nation.
I think it was your son.
I'm so every time we come over here, we destroy something. And last week, my dog has done everything he can do to your carpet.
Right.
We have ink on. I'm standing on the ink stain that Charlie provided for us. He's done a lot of different things when it comes to the bathroom that he only does over here. And then my son ripped off your stair banister the other day.
Yeah, I fixed it.
You did? You glued it back together?
I glued it back together. There's a little paint issue going on, but it's fine.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's what happens when you're
sorry
a kid.
about that when the O'Neills come over.
Sorry.
We just can't. You can't have nice things.
You cannot have
when
nice
I
things.
show up to do the Ron and Don show.
And you did have to buy a plunger, but that's okay.
Hey, don't forget the Ron and Don show is brought to you by Windermere. Ron and Don, we're licensed brokers at Windermere. If you're ready for a Ron and Don sit down, we have a cup of coffee. We sit down, we talk about your journey. Reach out to Ron at windermere.com, and we'll get you scheduled for a sit down. We'll come to you, or you can come to us, and let's sit down together.
Yeah, a couple real estate stories. I love throwing these your way, getting your take on them. The first one takes us down to California, but it's reminiscent of Paul Allen and what he did over on Mercer Island. Elon Musk from Tesla and SpaceX, of course, one of the founders of PayPal. Have you seen the new Tesla truck, by the way?
No.
Oh my gosh, you got to check it out. It's very boxy.
Yeah.
Look it up on your phone real quick while I'm explaining this.
Right.
The Tesla truck, they just did the reveal, and people are freaking out because they used a material that they were pioneering for the SpaceX rocket as the chassis of the truck. And so people either love this truck or they absolutely despise the truck. They're doing pre-orders right now. You can put your pre-order reservation in for $100.
Oh, my gosh.
And so our friend Jordan, he already has a Tesla. He put in an order to reserve a truck, even though it's going to be for like 2 years from now. What do you think? Describe the truck, and what do you think of the truck?
You know what? It looks like what was the movie that Michael J. Fox was in?
Back to the Future.
It looks like the Back to the Future.
It's like a DeLorean.
It looks like a modern day version of a Back to the Future car. It doesn't look like a truck at all.
It is a truck.
But the way that it's lit up,
and they have all-wheel drive and non-all-wheel drive. It's pretty cool.
So it looks like that car, but just updated. And this looks like something when you would sit down and you would draw pictures when you were a little kid about what the future would look like. You think it would look like this Cybertruck.
It's a cool truck. So you can go look at the truck. But so Elon Musk, he's that guy. He is now buying up basically a neighborhood in Brentwood in Los Angeles. And so the Wall Street Journal did a deep dive on this because it's through some LLCs, but the LLCs have the same address as SpaceX.
Okay.
So they're like, okay, this is clearly linked to Elon Musk in the same way that when Paul Allen started buying stuff up, he created shell companies. He didn't buy it as Paul Allen, like it was Vulcan Real Estate and some other LLCs that would buy stuff up. And even when he was on Mercer Island. So Paul Allen bought, I believe, 13 lots on Mercer Island that had 8 houses. And so he created his compound on Mercer Island. Bill Gates did a similar thing when he wanted to install a big garage and do his property on Lake Washington. He bought up a bunch of lots. Mark Zuckerberg has paid $50 million to buy up houses in Palo Alto. So now Elon Musk has bought about $100 million worth of these houses on Brentwood. So he has right now, I think, 6 houses on 2 streets, and whenever houses come together on the market, he's buying them up, including a 20,248 square foot house that he bought in 2012. And then when anything pops on the market in this area, he's scooping it up. So people are trying to figure out exactly what he's doing because clearly you can only live in one house at a time. But he, I don't know if it's a private, what do you think someone like that is? Like with Paul Allen, Bill Gates, or Elon Musk, or Mark Zuckerberg, why would you want to buy up an entire neighborhood?
Well, I think a lot of times it's because you want to control that neighborhood. And you think about Bill Gates, when they were working on that house for years, if you were one of the construction workers, you would have to show up at a particular site, and then they would wand you and pat you down, do all those other things. And you would have to jump on school buses, and then the school buses would bring you to work. When you think about and think about when the president travels, I bet Bill Gates travels with just as many security people.
I bet his security budget each year is in the 7 figures.
Yeah, I know some people that work at the security for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I know someone in their job is just to be there all day, and if somebody walks through the door and they're an active shooter, is to engage the active shooter. So they work on an active shooter team, and that's all they do. And this is just at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, let alone what happens when they travel to Africa, for instance, 3 times at the end of the year, because they go to Africa a lot because they're trying to fight and cure some incredible diseases. So I think what's happening here is a lot of times when you look at someone like Elon Musk, you look at someone like the Gates or the Gates Foundation, there are people out there that would love to kidnap Bill Gates or Melinda or one of their children, one of their kids. They would love to. And what you have to do in today's modern age is you have to really have a compound that you can secure.
I think you're absolutely right.
You can make sure that your loved ones, because otherwise,
people freak out about
someone
Elon
to
Musk.
steal your kiddo. Like when people travel, Americans get stolen all the time, and then there's a phone call and it says, "Hey, I got your kid, and I want $2 million."
Even if that's not it, people freak out because it's $100 million. But if you're a billionaire, if he bought $100 million of stock in a company, no one would necessarily bat an eye. Or if Bill Gates bought $100 million of stock in Coca-Cola or something, or Warren Buffett. But when it's $100 million of neighborhood real estate, they do freak out.
I bet that he probably employs over 100 people when it comes to his security. And then think about that. Then those 100 people, they have to eat and they have to sleep and they have to. So you have to have a compound just when it comes to everybody that works for you, not just on your security detail, but on your life detail in general. If you look at the Obamas, they just bought $11.5 million home in the vineyard, Martha's Vineyard. And a lot of that, it came with a huge second home. It's the compound. It's where the security is going to stay. Yeah.
So big front page story in the Seattle Times about it's a home seller's market, and it surprised a lot of folks. They thought that November would really slow down and become a buyer's market.
Wait, say that again.
They said it's the headline in the Seattle Times. It's a home seller's market. As King County sees November surprise. And so there's a couple details in here that I thought were interesting. Number one, the closed sales in Seattle went up by almost 30% November 18 to November 19, but the median price went down 3.3%. So let's just do these one at a time. What are you seeing there? Did it surprise you? So closed sales went up 30% year to year, but price went down 3%.
Well, I think one of the reasons that happened is, number one, there's a lot of people, if they're thinking about listing a home, if you're listing a home this time of year, you have to sell this time of year, because otherwise people are going to wait until next year, or they'll even wait January, February, March, and into the spring. And what we're seeing is people are bringing homes online, but there's not a ton of inventory right now. There's not a ton of yard arms out there. And so it doesn't surprise me that it's a seller market, because there is less inventory. We're going to see more inventory January, February, and March as we roll into 2020. So not a big surprise.
So on the east side, though, the closed sales only went up 10%. But they said it was clustered a little bit in the higher priced homes because there's an excise tax thing rolling in 2020. So maybe take a minute on that. So what they're finding is people, if you had a $2 million house or a $3 million house in Bellevue, they know that this excise tax is happening in 2020. So they're trying to squeeze their house house in and get it sold or get it bought by the end of the year.
Yeah, if it's a luxury home, you're going to pay more next year for a luxury home and excise tax. And if you buy a cheaper home, you're actually going to pay a little less when it comes to excise taxes. That is changing here in the state of Washington because they want to make sure that people here that have some money in their pocket, have some equity in their house, that they spend a little more than the rest of us.
Now, this one surprised me, and I'm curious to see what you think about this. Condo sales. So condos, and again, this was on the front page of the Seattle Times, from November 18 to November 19. In Seattle, closed sales went down 1.2%, so almost exactly the same, 167 to 165. Closed condos on the east side, though, jumped almost 30% year to year. So when you're looking at condo sales on the east side, it went from 155 to 201 in November, which is a gigantic increase. I have a theory about what I think's going on. What do you think's going on?
I think what's going on here is HQ2, which never really happened, is happening on the east side. I think HQ2, if you look at what Amazon has done in New York, they just went in and they bought up some buildings, and they didn't ask for any favors from the federal government or from local governments, state governments. They didn't ask for any tax breaks, nothing. They just went in, they bought up buildings similar to what they did with Vulcan in South Lake Union when Paul Allen developed these things. And Amazon said, we don't want to rent, we want to buy. We want to buy these buildings from you. And at some point, they'll probably control a third of the commercial retail space in downtown Seattle. On the east side, not a surprise, because what do you have? You have a lot of building going on as they're revamping Microsoft. And then you see Apple popping up, you see Google popping up, you see Amazon popping up. So again, HQ2 is kind of appearing over there. And a lot of people that are moving into the area, if you're from San Francisco, you're used to living in something like a condo. You're used to living in a space that has shared walls. So that doesn't surprise me that's happened on the east side. And over here in Seattle...
I would have thought it would have been an increase in Seattle and maybe a bigger increase.
Seattle doesn't surprise me because we saw all these cranes, and at one point over 100 cranes. A lot of those cranes were building apartments. You have people that are coming here now, and I have a lot of coders that come and they'll stay at one of my Airbnbs. They used to go out and feel like they had to buy a home now. Now what they're doing is they're renting an apartment because you can get a better deal on an apartment for 6 to 12 months, figure out what neighborhood you want to live in, and then pull the trigger if you decide to stay and buy. So that's why we see a correction right now when it comes to condos because so many apartments are coming online.
I'd be curious to see how many of those east side condos are in the vicinity of the new light rail line that's slicing its way through, because I would imagine that it's clustering around that. If you can get a condo in Bellevue, right within walking distance of one of those train stations that can take someone right to Amazon,
great piece of real estate.
That is a great investment property.
We do something called a Ron and Don sit down. What do we do at a sit down?
Yeah, whatever your real estate dream is, whether you're a buyer, a seller, an investor, sometimes you're going to sell and then buy. You're going through a change. So it can be a child, it could be a divorce, it could be a death in the family, and you need to make a move. We sit down, we strategize with you, and then we come up with a game plan that we can execute in 2020. We've been getting really positive, good feedback from folks that have done a Ron Don sit down.
Doesn't cost you anything. It costs us a cup of coffee. And if you want to do what Julie did, she made us some really great cookies.
Peanut butter cookies.
We went over to see her last week. We did a sit down. We'd love to sit down with you, either in your home or in your condo, or come sit with us at Windermere on South Lake Union. We'll have a cup of coffee, and we'll talk about your real estate journey. If you're upsizing, downsizing, in between sizing, we're going to help you. Ron at Windermere.com, Don O'Neill at Windermere.com, and let's schedule a sit down today. All right? Straight ahead on the Ron and Don Show, the guys from Les Schwab and the gals from Les Schwab, they heard your plea. Now you got three hours of the Ron and Don Show. I'm sorry, 3 episodes of the Ron and Don Show. Sometimes it's over 3 hours. Yeah. Every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we come back. Big toy drive. They want to make sure that no child in Western Washington goes without a toy this holiday season. And we'll talk to Brett and see how we're going to do that next. It's the Ron and Don Show on a Friday, only on the Ron and Don Radio Network. Hey, I don't know if this happened to you. It happened to me the other day. I jump in my truck. I have a 4Runner. It's rear-wheel drive. And it used to be when I had these old tires on it. In fact, the tires that came from the Toyota manufacturer, the truck would spin out all the time. And I had a hard time controlling the truck. Well, what I did is I went to Les Schwab. And they put on some brand new tires. They have their own tire line now. And I'm telling you, it has made a world of difference in the way that my truck performs. I no longer have to put it in four-wheel drive when it gets rainy out, and I used to have to do that with the other tires. So if you're looking for some brand new tires and you want to make sure that these tires are going to perform when it rains out or when you're heading up to the pass and all the snow and everything else, what you want to do is you want to stop by a Les Schwab Tire Center and say, hey, let me look at the custom Les Schwab tires in the Les Schwab tire line. All right? Yeah. You can be a part of something really, really incredible too, because Les Schwab right now has a big toy drive going on. We want to make sure that every child in Western Washington gets a toy for the holidays. LesSchwab.com. Find one of those locations near you. Just go to LesSchwab.com, and don't forget, Les Schwab, doing the right thing. You know it matters. All right, this time of year, you're running around, you're buying stuff for people you love and you care about. Remember those presents you buy. It's a symbol. You're just letting people know, hey, I love you, I care about you, I haven't forgotten you. What about kids in this community, though, that we don't even know? How about sending them a symbol? We can do that now with Les Schwab. Brett is here, Brett Clark from Les Schwab. 85 locations. They've leveraged all those locations, the power of Les Schwab. And they said, hey, why don't you stop by? You have until December 17th to stop by, drop off a new unwrapped toy, and then that gives them the opportunity to make sure that these toys, not only, I guess they remain in the community, right? So if you drop one off in Pierce County, it stays in Pierce County.
Absolutely.
King County stays in Island County, Skagit Valley, wherever you drop this toy off, it's going to stay in this community for kiddos in this community, right, Brett?
Absolutely, yeah. We support Forgotten Children's Fund here in the Seattle area, but also 11 other charities in Western Washington, from, like you say, all the way up north of Skagit County, all the way as south as Lewis County. They all stay in the community that you donate them in to make sure that they get to the kids that are in need in your neighborhood.
Yes. And Brett, I remember as a kid, me and my sister had a competition to count how many presents we were going to get every year, and if she had 9, I was needed to have 9. But for a lot of folks out there, when they're shopping for the grandkids or whatever, remember those kids where the count is 0.
Yeah, absolutely, and we see that often. Our heart goes out to them. It's our goal with Les Schwab is to make sure that no child gets forgotten, that everyone has something to open on Christmas.
Yeah. All right, so go to LesSchwab.com right now. Find one of those 85 locations there to serve you. And what location are you hanging out in?
I'm in the Paulsbo location. I'm from the peninsula.
So then come see you in Paulsbo.
Absolutely. Just take a ferry, bring over, say Ron and Don sent you.
Yeah. Brett's everywhere, though. It's those Les Schwab, all the tire people. You have to love them. Make sure you walk in, you drop off a toy. They'll also take your rig, throw it up in a rack. And what is that? Because you don't charge any money to do that now, right? During the holidays, you just take the other guys that charge hundreds of dollars. You don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's our free pre-trip safety inspection. We want to make sure that you're traveling safe on the road. You're going to head over for Thanksgiving, you're going to head over for Christmas, and we just want to make sure that whatever worries you have has nothing to do with your vehicle.
Yeah, you buy some cables, chains, or whatever, you don't know how to put those on, you'll show them how to do that in the store, I guess, right?
Absolutely, yep. We have our demo display ready to go, and everyone's always excited about how fast we can get chains on for you.
Yeah, and Les Schwab now has their own signature tire. This is pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah, our own brand, Mazama. So we have it in a passenger light truck. The passenger is the reputation, the light truck is the open range, and these tires have been absolutely phenomenal tires.
Yeah, they're game-changing tires. They changed the way that my 4Runner performs, and I was getting ready to sell it, and we put these tires on, like, I'm keeping this thing.
Yeah.
Because now it doesn't slide all over the place because these brand new tires from Les Schwab. And I looked at the price point. They are so reasonable, aren't they?
Absolutely. And the other thing that we're doing is we're backing it up with a 60-day ride guarantee. So you put those on your vehicle. If those aren't the greatest tires you've ever had, bring them back. We'll give you your money back. It's not going to be a problem because that's not going to happen because you're going to love these things when you put them on.
You are. I got mine last fall, and they are really incredible, you guys. Brett, thanks to that. They always say doing the right thing matters. It really is true. And that's why even when you stop by on Sunday at a Les Schwab tire location, they're not there. These guys are out there playing with their kiddos and with their families. You can drop your car off, drop the keys off. And they'll get to it on a Monday, though. But doing the right thing, taking care of families, that really matters to Les Schwab, and I love that. It's just part of the culture there, all right? So make sure, 85 locations to serve all of us. Drop by a brand new unwrapped toy this holiday season. Have to December 17th to do it, all right? Les Schwab, let's say it together. Doing the right thing. It matters this holiday season.